Will you list kind of the different places that you have worked with the State Department as a PA?
Tashkent, Uzbekistan, Ankara, Turkey, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, Maputo, Mozambique, to Washington, D.C., Tel Aviv, Israel, Pretoria, South Africa, Phnom Penh, Cambodia, to Frankfurt, Germany.
So today I have a very special guest who is with the U.S. State Department, and he is stationed currently in Frankfurt. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what it's like working for the State Department. Welcome, Ty.
Welcome, Michelle. I'm delighted to be here to chat about the interesting aspects of working in the Foreign Service.
So obviously, this is a job that's a bit different. How did you find this job?
I started for my loan repayment with the National Health Service Corps on the Navajo Indian Reservation. And it was during that time that the nursing administrator gave me a magazine that listed a job for a Peace Corps medical officer. And I thought, well, that's a very interesting thing. And so I sent out a letter of inquiry with my resume. And lo and behold, 90 days later, I'm getting off of a plane in Ashgabat, Turkmenistan. So I started off overseas as a Peace Corps medical officer. And so as my contract for Peace Corps was coming to an end, I put in my application and was hired and picked up by the State Department and have been traveling the globe for the last 27 years.
That sounds so amazing. When you get a posting, how long are you usually in one area?
So our postings, or, the assignment that you're given varies on sort of the level of hardship. And so if you are assigned to a war zone or a place where it is where there's a high danger pay, it's a 1 year assignment. Places that are not as remote, not as austere or dangerous, they are 2 year assignments. In some locations, you're able to extend for an additional year, but it also depends on the needs of the service. So the tours can be 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year on average.
Do you get any say in where you get posted, or is it just completely up to what they need and totally the State Department's decision?
When you are ready to bid on an assignment, they will send you a list of all of the countries that are available to bid on. There are places that the officers are moving on to other assignments, or there are new places that are coming online. And so that list can be as long as 30 or 40 positions that you can bid on. And you're asked to rank high, medium, and low 6 assignments. You can put in more than that, but at a minimum of 6 assignments. But whatever of the list that you put on, you have to be ready to go to. And so you'll send in your minimum 6, and then the State Department will tell you which one of those 6 they're going to send you to.
So a little bit of both. You get a little say, but it really, you have to be prepared to go to any of those 6 countries.
Medical officers have different desires and needs. And this is what's wonderful about the diversity of our community. There are those that are in a place in their career that they want to do those remote and austere hardship locations. And then there are those that have family members. They have students that are getting ready to graduate from high school. And so they want to bid on those assignments where there are good high schools for their high school age kids to be able to graduate from. And others, they're young and they don't have a family yet, or they're just starting a family. And this is a unique thing about this job, is that you're not going by yourself, you're going with your family. And so, the family has as much of an interest as the location where you're going to work and serve as you, the officer.
So how does it work when you bring a family? Like how is housing figured out? What about the school? Like you talk about schools for kids. How does that work?
The State Department provides a lot of resources. There is a resource center in Washington, D.C. that provides information on what is the makeup of the community. One of the things that I look at is how large or how small a mission community is. For example, Frankfurt is the largest consulate in the world. We have 1,200 U.S. direct hire employees and family members, and you add to that another 900 local hired staff. We are the biggest consulate in the 4th largest mission in the world. If you were going to Bangui in Central African Republic, there are only 26 employees there. And so there's a wide variety of the number of people that are in a specific posting or assignment. And the same goes for the academics. Some locations have very limited educational opportunities, while others have huge high schools. Frankfurt International School is probably one of the largest high schools in Europe. The State Department provides you with all of this information. It provides you with what are the schools that are available. What does your housing look like? Are you living in apartments? Are you living in houses? you live on a compound, or do you live out in the community where you have host nation as your neighbors, then, and you are integrated really into those communities. It really varies depending on the places that you live. Some places, the housing is absolutely palatial. But if you're posted in Tokyo, Japan, you're going to be living in a smaller apartment. And so it's a matter of being able to sort of have in advance sort of, okay, this is where I want to go, and this is the amount of stuff that I'm going to be able to place into whatever size of house that you have. There is a certain amount of household effects that you're able to travel or to take with you. Many places will allow you to ship a car as well. Some places you don't want to ship a car. And then you're also able to have unaccompanied air baggage. So we are seasoned travelers. Once we've packed out of one location, all I want is one suitcase that I'm taking with me to the next one, and everything else goes by household effects or by unaccompanied air baggage. But the State Department really does take good care of us.
Does the State Department provide the house or do you have to find it?
So there are a few places where you have to go find the place yourself, but those are very few. Most of, I would say, probably greater than 95%, the State Department has their own housing pool. And when you are assigned to a location, they will send you a housing questionnaire, and they'll say, tell us what your needs are about your housing. There are some people that they want to live out in the community. They want to be as much into, German community as they can. And so they'll say, listen, we want an apartment, we want a house in downtown Frankfurt. And the State Department has its own American compound here in Frankfurt, which is called the Siedlung. And there are 430 apartments here. And there are others that have kids that they want that Mayberry experience. They want their kids to have other American kids that they can play with. And so they will specifically request to be able to live here on the compound so that their kids can play with other American kids close by. There is a housing board committee at every embassy, and they look through the information and they try to match up employees with close to what they want as possible.
And so just to clarify, make sure I'm not assuming something. So not only do they provide the housing, but do they also, is it rent free or do you have to pay for the house that they provide?
So the housing is a part of our package. So we don't pay rent, we don't pay for the utilities. Although we have to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. The houses come furnished. And that's the funny thing, is that I know what my house is going to look like, in terms of furnishing from one part of the world to the next, because it's all sort of a same standard contract. It's lovely. It's nice furniture, but it is the same.
All these places you've lived around the world, what have you had some adventures that you'd like to tell us about or just amazing experiences that really stand out?
I think all of us, we're in it to take care of people, and sometimes taking care of those people involves some of the leaders of the free world, and it's really exciting. I've had the opportunity to care for two presidents, two secretaries of state, no, three secretaries of state, lots of members of Congress, congressional staffers. I think what's unique is that we really try to be there to care for people that are trying to move global policy along.
So I interviewed a PA who had worked in the White House medical unit. So does the attaché at the embassies work in conjunction with the the medical unit officer who's traveling?
Yes, exactly. So when the White House medical team do their advances to different places around the world, they will team up with us, and we will take either the PA, nurse practitioner, or physician, whoever is on the lead for whatever leg that they're assessing, and we will take them to the hospitals that are on our list, or the primary care facilities that they will use. We will introduce them to our go-to physicians and EMS crews, and help them know the routes that they would take from any hotel or venue to the hospital. We tour the wings that a VIP would stay in. And not only do we do this for the White House team, we do this for the Secretary of State's delegation and other VIPs who have medical leads that travel with them as well. I think every country, every post that I've been assigned to, there's a piece of history that has occurred at each of those locations. I think for all of us who work in the State Department, you are not only witness to history, but you're helping in making history as well. And so that also makes the job really, really special.
Obviously, we've heard in the news troubles at embassies from time to time around the world. Do you feel safe working at embassies?
Yeah, there are times when one worries, but what's nice is that medical officers are in the core leadership role in embassies and consulates around the world. So I work closely with our leads in diplomatic security and in our intelligence community. And so knowledge is power. I know what is happening. I know what the embassy knows. And it allows me to, number one, keep my family safe, but also work with our other team in being able to keep the rest of the mission safe. And so we work hand in glove with the rest of the health and safety committees in the embassies and consulates to make sure that people are trained in CPR and first aid and know how to respond to casualty events. We work with our local counterparts within ambulance services and hospitals as far as being able to provide quality care if events do happen. And when we know of things happening, we really work hard to make sure that we keep people out of harm's way. And if a mission finds itself truly being targeted where we think something really, really bad is going to happen, then we have those conversations about, do we need to draw down a mission? Do we need to ask our family members and loved ones to go home and wait there until times are safe? We send them back to the States. We put them on a separate maintenance allowance. So the State Department, the embassy really does go out of its way to try to keep its employees and family members as safe as possible.
In general, what kind of medical staff do you usually find in embassies? Like, is it usually a solo provider for a smaller embassy? Are there occasions where an APP is the only provider there, or is there always a doctor in an APP? Do you have MAs, nurses, those kind of things?
You're right. So depending on the mission size, you will have different mission configurations. Medevac Center in Pretoria, we had a large staff. There were 13 support staff members in that medical unit. Myself as the clinical director for Medevac operations, there was the MD regional medical officer, there was the MD psychiatrist, a regional medical officer for psychiatry, and then there was a regional medical laboratory scientist who took care of the regional laboratory support work for a part of the world. And then I had 6 nurses, 6 registered nurses, a medevac coordinator, and 2 medical administrative assistants that all work for me as well. Big operation, lots of staff that was needed. When I was in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, it was me and 1 registered nurse. And we took on the world, So I've never worked any place that I worked alone. All of the places had 1 or 2 nurses and an admin person that helped with sort of reception function and things like that.
I gather that you are responsible for taking care of the employees that have postings in the embassy that you're in and their families. And then, of course, any visiting dignitaries or VIPs that are coming in. Is there anybody else that you're responsible for taking care of while you're working in an embassy?
So we care for everybody who lives and works at an embassy or consulate. Anybody who is on official orders that is coming to visit, we provide those with their care as well. Interestingly enough, we don't provide healthcare to tourists, to American citizens that have come to a specific country. I think it's an important thing to mention is that we are licensed in the United States, but I'm not licensed in Germany. I wasn't licensed in South Africa. I wasn't licensed in any of the countries that I worked for. And so as US diplomats, we are working in US territory in the US mission compounds. And we're taking care of all of our direct hire employees under that license. And then this is why when I go out into the community, I need to find my counterparts, my medical counterparts that will be there to help me with my admissions to local hospitals, to assist with prescriptions. There are some places where I, as a U.S. provider, can prescribe and those medications will be filled on the local economy. Then there are other places where you need to have the local licensed provider. I'll write the prescription and they'll co-sign it so that it can be filled at a local pharmacy.
So to be able to prepare to be a good candidate to work in an embassy in a State Department, what do you think is a good background for a provider to have? What kind of specific training or knowledge do they need?
I think that my time on the Navajo Indian Reservation was really helpful for me. It allowed me to work in somewhat of a remote and austere location, seeing a wide variety of family practice and pediatric patients. And knowing that I didn't have a center of medical excellence right around the corner, but it was a helicopter ride away. And that's sort of what really set me up and prepared me well for work in the Foreign Service. You have to be able to be really comfortable with what you know, but even more comfortable with what you don't know. And when you encounter those things where you're stumped, that you have people in your Rolodex that you're able to call up and to seek wise counsel, and to be able to then medevac those people that need a higher level of care to the locations that they need to go. There have been times over the last 27 years where I have aged quite a bit in a 24-hour period waiting for an air ambulance to fly in to fly a person out, praying that the person didn't get so sick that the air ambulance crew would say, I'm sorry, we can't fly this one. But you really learn. You really learn your skill, that you know what to do to keep people safe and stable, so that they can be flown out. ACLS skills are important. Your trauma skills are important. There have been times where I have been in the absolute middle of nowhere, caring for diplomats that have crashed their armored vehicle in a rollover, and you are it, and you're in the, you're 100 miles from nowhere, and being able to stabilize those people and to put in chest tubes on the side of the road, and to keep them alive until you can get them to locations that you can provide a higher level of care. Yes, I've had people die in the postings that I've served, but I can always hold my head up high that I gave people the best possible care that I could. But sometimes things happen. They would have died in the United States as well.
Does the State Department have certain requirements that you have to meet before they'll even consider you for a candidate, like number of years or particular specialties that you can come from?
You need to have 5 years of primary care experience. That includes pediatrics, OBGYN, family practice, acute care. If you have some emergency room experience, that's helpful as well. But truly, the day in and day out job is taking care of the routine family practice needs of the community. The State Department provides people with additional training that will look at sort of, if you're going to a war zone, they will put you through a tactical combat casualty course. If you're going to a location that you need other types of training and experience, they provide that for you as well. The State Department is looking for candidates that can operate independently, that have a solid foundation in family practice and acute care skills, and work well sort of in a team. You really are a central and important role within a mission. The ability to give high quality healthcare is a cornerstone of mission morale. If people feel that their family is being well taken care of, it gives them a great sense of ease.
So I guess coming from somebody who I've mostly practiced family practice, I've done, little urgent care and a little occupational medicine type things, but haven't worked in an emergency room, haven't put in chest tubes and those things. Is that adequate training, or do people really need to have family practice and maybe some emergency medicine or some other kind of emergency skills training before they apply?
There are some foundational things. You need to be able to start an IV. You need to be able to perform a phlebotomy. You need to be able to suture. Those are sort of foundational things that need to happen. You need to be able to say, I am competent in an advanced airway, whether that's an LMA or an endotracheal tube, what have you, some way for securing an airway. As far as with putting in chest tubes, that's a nicety, but I know that several of my colleagues that it's been a really, really long time since they put a chest tube in. But it really is important for being able to manage common medical issues. I mean, you've got to be able to manage hypertension, diabetes, and hypothyroidism. Tropical medicine is important. And one of the things that I do when I'm going to a new location, it's like I spend the time to figure out, okay, what are the illnesses that are seen in that part of the world? I think half of the world suffers from diarrheal illnesses. So, feeling comfortable with watery stool is a very, very important skill. So, and then fever of unknown origin, those are the big ones.
Anything else you wanted to mention or talk about?
I have found that everybody has a honeymoon tour. You are excited. You have joined the Foreign Service. You are working for this prestigious organization called the U.S. Department of State, and they are sending you to the embassy in Caracas. Sounds so exciting. And so you go, wow, that is wonderful. Where's Caracas? And so you have this honeymoon period where everything is so cute and novel, and oh wow, this is so different, and isn't this exciting? And then pretty soon you go, oh, wow, this is really different, and this isn't really exciting. I usually find that if people get through their second tour, then they are probably in it for the long haul. But I think the first tour, it's like, okay, we did this. We survived Sierra Leone, and now I'm expecting Paris because I was in Sierra Leone. Well, your second tour may not be Paris, it might be Maputo. So Maputo is better than Sierra Leone, I think, but it may not be Europe. And these are the things that one has to be able to sort of be up for the adventure and to make sure that the family is up for the adventure. It's really a wonderful opportunity, and kids learn so much overseas.
Now, I assume, though, there are some single people that work at the State Department as well, right? I mean, you don't have to have a family, right?
Hey, this is important too. The State Department, they're there to help support single officers as well, and so the community liaison officer. They really work to help sort of link up singles with other singles so that you don't feel that you're, the third wheel with others that have families, and nor are you sort of left all by yourself. I started off in the Foreign Service single as well, and my wife was the office manager for the British Embassy. We were part of the diplomatic corps. I mean, we hung out with the Germans and the Brits and the Italians and the Japanese and the Canadians, and it was a really wonderful sort of initial experience.
And is there an age limit when you have to retire?
So at 65, there is mandatory retirement, but then you can do REA, right? I can't remember what the initials stand for, but people who retire at age 65, they get their pension, the State Department pension, but then they can come back and work 6 months out of the year. As I look towards my retirement, I am looking at doing this. I mean, really, for me, is a great and exciting opportunity. So this job opens up other windows, jobs that you would never even have thought of become available when you're ready to retire. So when I retire, it's to do what I want to do, not what I have to do. Come out in the world and play.
I love hearing stories of people doing these incredible things around the world and very excited about the State Department opportunity. If it's something that you're interested in, there will be the links down below in the description box that will give you the links to where you go to learn more and to apply. And it just may be the opportunity that you've been looking for if you were trying to get overseas. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe. It really does help the channel out. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time on the Medicine Couch. Bye.